The mist crawls over the Scottish hills, thick and haunting, wrapping the world in silence. A single echo breaks through, the sound of a heartbeat, slow and heavy as if time itself is waiting. The camera drifts through the fog, catching glimpses of wild heather, old stones, and the faint outline of a man standing alone. The voice of Claire whispers through the wind, soft yet filled with pain. Some truths cannot stay buried forever. The music begins, slow violin strings, then the distant call of bagpipes rising with emotion. A shadow moves across the highlands, the figure of Jamie Fraser, his eyes fixed on something far beyond the mist. The voiceover grows stronger, layered with tension. He's finally arrived. The one fate has hidden. The one destiny refused to forget. Lightning flashes. The screen cuts between faces of the past and the present. Claire's tears, Jamie's scars, the battlefield smoke. Then for just a heartbeat, the image of a young man, his eyes strikingly familiar, his expression full of fire. The narrator whispers, as the screen fades to black, "The son of the Highlander has come home." The title appears in bold gold letters over stormy skies. Outlander, Season 8, the final chapter. The music swells, pulling the audience into the beginning of something far greater than war. The story of blood, destiny, and reunion. The scene opens with rolling thunder across the highlands. Rain hits the stones like shattered memories. Claire's voice breaks the silence once again, calm but trembling. It feels as though time is folding in on itself, bringing everything back to where it began. Her words float over images of Lallybroch, the once peaceful home now quiet, almost sacred in its stillness. We see empty corridors, a candle flickering beside an old letter, and a portrait of Jamie, slightly faded by time. The camera glides past a window. Outside, the storm rages. Lightning reveals the outline of a rider in the distance, moving fast across the hills. The narrator's voice returns, low and heavy with emotion. Every journey leads home. But what if home no longer remembers who you are? The horse gallops closer, the rider's cloak whipping in the wind. We can't see his face yet, only the determination in his movement, powerful, relentless, as though something is driving him beyond reason. The shot cuts to Jamie standing near the stables, his eyes narrowing as he senses a presence. His hands are calloused, his face lined with years of battle and loss. But in his gaze, there's something deeper, the weight of a truth he's carried for too long. Claire walks into the frame, her hair tousled by the wind. She looks at him with worry and love mixed in one glance. "You feel it too, don't you?" she says softly. Jamie doesn't answer, but his silence is louder than any word. The thunder rolls again, shaking the earth beneath them. The music fades to a low hum, the calm before the storm. The narrator continues. Fate does not ask for permission. It arrives like the storm, sudden, merciless, and unstoppable. The camera pans to the distant rider once more. The rain blurs his figure, but as he draws closer, a familiar symbol glints from his belt, a piece of metal, engraved with the Fraser crest. Claire gasps quietly, as if her heart recognizes what her mind cannot yet believe. Jamie turns, his eyes filled with both disbelief and recognition. Time slows. The sound of the horse's hooves fades, replaced by a faint echo, the heartbeat again, the same from the opening seconds. Then, for the first time, we hear the narrator's words clearly, filled with gravity. William is here. Lightning strikes, the screen flashes white, and in that moment, all the pain, all the secrets, all the love hidden through years of war come rushing back. The music erupts, bagpipes and drums rising into a wave of emotion. As the thunder fades, the narrator ends the section with one line that echoes into silence. And now, the past will meet its reckoning. The storm has passed, but the silence it leaves behind is heavier than thunder. The dawn rises slowly over the highlands, painting the mist in shades of gold and sorrow. A gentle wind carries the scent of wet grass and ash, the scent of endings and beginnings. Claire stands alone on the ridge, her hair glimmering in the morning light, watching the horizon where the rider vanished hours ago. Her eyes hold a question that no science, no healing, no time travel could ever answer. She whispers softly, almost to herself, "Blood always finds its way home." The camera pans downward, revealing Jamie kneeling near the stables. His hands are dirty, not from war, but from the soil of his own land, the land he fought for, bled for, and nearly lost. He runs his fingers through the mud as if it could speak back to him, as if it might tell him whether fate has finally come for what he's kept hidden. His face is older now, but the fire in his eyes has not dimmed. It burns with the memory of choices made long ago, when love demanded sacrifice and destiny demanded silence. The narrator's voice enters like a ghost. A father's love is the one truth time can never bury. But what happens when that love is a secret that could destroy them both? Images flash, quick, painful fragments of the past. Jamie holding baby William, his hands trembling as he passes the child to Lord John Grey. The weight of goodbye pressed between their eyes. Claire watching from the shadows, her heart breaking but her strength unshaken. The sound of a church bell echoes faintly in the distance, as if tolling for a promise made to God and man alike. Cut to present. Jamie stands now by the same stables, looking out toward the hills. His gaze is sharp, searching. Somewhere out there, William rides unaware that the blood of the Highlander burns within his veins. The narrator continues. He was born of truth and raised in lies, the son of a legend, walking a path forged by silence. The scene shifts to William, older, hardened, a soldier of the crown. His boots crush the wet grass beneath him as he surveys the wild, untamed land of Fraser's Ridge. The wind tugs at his coat, carrying whispers from a past he does not yet understand. In his eyes there's pride, defiance, but also confusion. He feels the pull of this place, though he cannot explain why. He stops beside a river. The water runs fast and cold, glinting in the light like silver threads of memory. He kneels, cupping a handful of water, and catches his reflection. For a second, another face flashes, Jamie's face, strong, scarred, and full of quiet sorrow. The vision vanishes, leaving William shaken. He splashes the water away, his jaw tightening as if trying to chase off a ghost. The narrator's tone deepens. You can change a man's name. You can hide his lineage, but you cannot silence the call of blood. It speaks in the heart, in the choices he cannot explain, in the courage he cannot deny. The music builds, low strings mixed with the heartbeat that has echoed since the opening scene. As William mounts his horse, the camera follows his movement across the valley. Each step takes him closer to Jamie, though neither knows what the meeting will bring. Cut to Claire inside the cabin. She opens an old wooden chest and pulls out a folded letter, Jamie's handwriting, faded but still strong. Her hands tremble as she unfolds it. The voiceover shifts to Jamie's words written years ago. If ever he finds his way back, tell him I never forgot him. Tell him that no matter the years, no matter the lies, he was always my son, not by name but by soul. The camera lingers on Claire's eyes as she reads. A single tear falls onto the parchment, darkening the ink like rain falling on earth. She closes the letter, presses it to her chest, and whispers, "He's coming, Jamie, whether we're ready or not." Outside, the wind grows stronger, stirring the leaves. A hawk circles overhead, its cry echoing across the mountains, a symbol of freedom, of fate, of blood calling blood. The narrator's voice rises again, full of emotion. Across oceans and wars, across time and loss, blood remembers. It calls the lost home, whether they want to be found or not. Flashbacks blend with the present. Jamie teaching young Brianna to ride. Lord John watching William with pride but sadness in his eyes. Claire staring into the fire, knowing that every lie comes with a price. The scenes overlap like layers of time collapsing on each other. Then, the sound of hooves breaks through the silence once again. Jamie looks up sharply. His breath catches, his hand frozen mid-motion. Claire steps outside, drawn by the same pull. In the distance, the rider appears once more, closer now, more distinct. The sun hits his hair, turning it a bright copper gold, and in that light, Jamie sees himself, not the man he is, but the boy he once was. The narrator whispers, "The truth rides on the wind, and it wears the face of the past." William dismounts. His boots hit the ground with the weight of centuries behind them. He looks at Jamie, not with recognition, not yet, but with something deeper, something that neither can name. A connection that hums in the air like the space between thunder and lightning. Jamie's lips part, but no sound comes out. He only stares, his heart pounding louder than the storm. Claire stands beside him, her hand reaching out to steady his trembling fingers. The silence between them says everything that words cannot. The camera closes in on William's face, proud, uncertain, curious. His gaze flickers over the man before him. For a fleeting second, his eyes soften, as if his soul remembers something his mind cannot. The narrator's voice drops to a near whisper. He doesn't know the man standing before him is his blood. His legacy, his truth. But destiny has already spoken. Their paths have crossed and there is no turning back. The air is heavy again. The calm that came after the storm feels false, fragile, the kind of silence that always comes before something terrible. The highlands rest under a gray sky, and the earth trembles faintly as though it knows what's coming. Far beyond the horizon, the distant thunder of war begins to roll once more. The narrator's voice enters, low and grave. Peace was never meant to last. Not for them. Not for this land. A faint drumbeat begins, slow, rhythmic, the sound of boots marching. One by one, the echoes grow louder until they merge into the heartbeat of an army. The camera pans over fields scarred by past battles, where the grass grows uneven and the soil still bears the memory of blood. The world has changed, but not its hunger for war. Jamie stands at the edge of a ridge, staring out across the valley. The wind catches his coat, lifting it like a flag in the storm. His eyes are distant, fixed on the smoke that curls on the horizon, the smoke of soldiers, camps, and burning homes. Claire joins him, her expression filled with quiet dread. It's starting again, she says softly, her voice breaking. How many more must we lose before it ends? Jamie doesn't answer. His jaw tightens, his hands gripping the fence post as if holding himself together. The years of struggle are carved into his face. Culloden, prison, exile, loss. He's lived through the end of one world and the rise of another. But this time feels different. This time, the war isn't just on the battlefield, it's in his own blood. Cut to William, the young soldier in the king's colors, riding through a crowded encampment. Soldiers move like shadows, the air thick with the smell of smoke, sweat, and iron. He walks among them, every step confident, trained, but there's something restless in his eyes. He watches men sharpen their blades, load muskets, and laugh through the fear. His commander salutes him, calling him Lord Ellesmere, but the title feels hollow in his ears. The narrator speaks again. He fights for a crown he does not truly serve, against a cause he cannot fully understand. But destiny does not ask where your loyalties lie. It drags you where it must. William pauses beside a fire where a wounded soldier sits, his hands trembling. He kneels beside him, offering water, his tone kind yet weary. The man whispers, "War changes us, sir. It takes from us the parts we never meant to lose." William looks away, his thoughts clouded. The flicker of the firelight dances across his face, and in that glow, for just a moment, the shadow of Jamie's features flickers over his own. The camera cuts back to Fraser's ridge. The air is tense, the sky darkening. Claire is packing medical supplies, bandages, herbs, tools, her hands shaking. She's seen what war does to men, to families, to the fragile peace they build. The narrator continues. For some, war is duty. For others, it is destiny. But for Claire and Jamie, it is a curse that refuses to die. Inside the cabin, a single candle burns as Jamie sits alone, staring at an old map spread across the table. His finger traces the borders, the rivers, the battlegrounds, places he's fought before, places he swore he'd never see again. His voice is barely a whisper. How many times must a man fight for the same dream? Claire steps into the room, standing behind him. Maybe it's not the dream that changes, she says. Maybe it's the man who must. Jamie looks up at her, the firelight reflecting in his eyes. For a heartbeat, there's silence, the kind of silence that feels like goodbye. The music swells. Slow drums and violins rising into something fierce. The narrator's tone sharpens. The war for independence has returned. But freedom always comes with a cost. And this time, that cost will demand everything they love. Cut to a sequence of fast, powerful shots. Soldiers marching through mud, muskets firing, cannons roaring. The earth shakes with every blast. Horses rear, men fall, and cries of pain fill the air. Through the chaos, William rides forward. Sword drawn, his face streaked with mud and determination. Then the camera cuts to Jamie, older, stronger, his musket clutched tight. He leads a small band of men through the woods, his every move precise and deadly. The two men, father and son, fight on opposite sides of the same storm, unaware that their blood runs together in the soil beneath them. The narrator continues, his voice thick with emotion. Two warriors. Two sides. One blood. The world calls them enemies, but fate calls them home. The music reaches its height, bagpipes blending with war drums. Smoke fills the air, blurring the line between right and wrong. The camera moves through the chaos, showing glimpses of Brianna clutching her child, Roger shouting in fear as explosions shake the ground, Claire tending to the wounded in a makeshift tent. Her hands covered in blood that is not her own, a voice cuts through the noise. Williams. "Hold the line!" he yells. His troops rally behind him, driven by his fire. He's fearless, commanding, every inch the soldier he was raised to be. But his eyes betray something else. Doubt, sorrow, the faint awareness that the man he fights may not be his enemy at all. The camera pans across the battlefield, slowing time. Jamie turns, musket in hand, his eyes locking on a young soldier across the field. For a moment, everything stops. The gunfire, the shouting, the drums. Just two figures, facing each other through smoke and distance. Jamie's breath catches. He doesn't know why, but something deep inside him shifts. The narrator's voice softens, almost whispering, and in the heart of war, when life and death dance on the same blade, blood will always recognize blood. A gunshot rings out, not clear who fired. The screen flashes white. Then silence. The camera pulls upward, revealing the battlefield from above, a sea of chaos beneath a darkening sky. The narrator speaks again, his tone filled with ache. The world burns, and the Highlanders' blood burns with it. Father and son stand on opposite sides of the flame, bound by the same fire that may consume them both. The wind howls through the empty hills once more. The drums fade. The rain begins to fall, gentle but cold. The surviving soldiers drag their wounded through the mud, faces hollow, eyes empty. Claire kneels beside a fallen man, pressing her hands to his chest, whispering prayers that never reach heaven. Jamie stumbles toward her, weary, bleeding, his eyes searching. "Did we win?" someone asks in the distance. Claire looks up, her face pale. "No one wins," she whispers. The narrator's voice lowers, resonant and final. War doesn't end with victory. It ends with loss, the loss of innocence, the loss of time, the loss of everything that makes us human. The screen fades slowly to black. Then a single sound, the distant cry of an eagle. The first rays of sunlight break through the clouds. Over the fading image of smoke rising from the battlefield, the narrator's last words close the section. The war has returned, and with it destiny's cruel hand. The world will soon know the cost of the blood that binds them. The heartbeat returns, slow, haunting, fading into silence. The battlefield sleeps under a gray sky. Smoke drifts lazily through the valley, curling around broken carts and torn banners like ghosts refusing to leave. The sound of distant thunder has gone. In its place comes only the soft patter of rain on metal, a slow rhythm that feels like mourning. Claire kneels in the mud beside what used to be a campfire. Her hands are stained crimson, her breath shallow. Around her lie men she could not save, faces she will never forget. She closes her eyes and whispers a prayer, not to God, but to the memory of mercy. The narrator's voice returns, quiet but steady, carrying the weight of unspoken things. When the guns fall silent, the truth begins to speak. And truth, once awakened, can never be silenced again. Claire wipes her hands on a scrap of linen and looks across the field. Through the mist, she sees Jamie standing alone near a fallen tree, his sword planted in the ground beside him. He stares into nothing, his shoulders rigid, his mind lost somewhere far away. The war may have ended for the day, but inside him it rages still. He feels the echo of every choice that led him here. The battles fought, the promises broken, the lies whispered in the name of love. She approaches him slowly. "Jamie," she says, barely above a whisper. He doesn't turn. "You did what you had to." Her words tremble in the air like fragile glass. He answers without looking at her. "Aye, but that doesn't make it right." The camera lingers on his face, the lines etched deep, the eyes clouded with guilt. The rain runs down his cheeks like tears he refuses to shed. The narrator continues. Some wounds bleed beneath the skin, unseen by the world but heavy enough to break the strongest heart. Jamie finally turns to Claire. "There was a lad out there," he says. "A young officer, brave, proud, looked at me as though he'd known me all his life." He stops, his voice cracking. "There was something in his eyes, Sassenach. Something I can't forget." Claire's breath catches. She knows who he speaks of. She has known since the first whisper of war reached their ridge. The son he could not claim now walks the same blood-soaked ground. The secret they kept buried for decades has risen from the grave of time. The wind shifts. In another part of the valley, William sits beneath a shattered tree, cleaning his blade with hands that tremble. Around him, soldiers tend to their wounds, their voices hushed. He stares at the steel, seeing not his reflection but the shadow of the man he faced across the smoke. A stranger, yet something in that man's eyes burned familiar, almost painfully so. He presses a hand to his chest, where his heart beats too fast, as if trying to remember a song it once knew. Fate plays cruel games. It binds father and son with invisible thread, pulling them together, tearing them apart, until the truth can no longer hide. Night falls. Claire and Jamie return to the cabin. The fire crackles weakly, fighting the damp air. Claire pours whiskey into 2 cups, her hands shaking just enough for the light to catch it. She slides 1 cup toward Jamie. "You can't change the past," she says, "but maybe you can face it." He looks at her, eyes dark and hollow. Face it? After all this time, what good would it do? The lad has a life, a name, a father he believes in. He pauses. What right have I to take that from him? Claire doesn't answer immediately. She knows there's no simple truth here, only choices, and each one carries a wound. Finally, she says, "It's not about taking anything. It's about honesty. The lies we keep, they rot us from the inside." Her voice breaks. "You taught me that." The camera shifts closer, the firelight flickering between them. Jamie's hand tightens around the cup. The narrator whispers, "Secrets are heavier than chains. They drag the soul toward the past until even love cannot pull it free." He sets the cup down. "If he learns the truth, it'll break him." Claire's eyes glisten. "If he doesn't, it will break you." Silence. Only the fire speaks now, cracking softly, sending sparks into the dark. The camera pans upward to the chimney smoke curling into the storm clouds, merging sky and earth, a symbol of secrets finally beginning to rise. The dawn breaks colder than any before it. The light crawls across the land like a secret reluctant to be seen. Mist clings to the trees, stretching its pale fingers over every stone and branch, as if the highlands themselves want to hide what is coming. In that silver quiet, a lone rider appears on the crest of a hill, his horse breathing clouds into the air, his cloak heavy with dew. Each hoofbeat lands like a heartbeat against the earth. The narrator's voice emerges, low, reverent. Some journeys are not measured by distance, but by what waits at their end. William slows his horse, scanning the valley below. The world feels too still, too expectant. He adjusts the strap on his sword, gloved hand steady though his pulse is not. Beneath the leather and uniform, beneath every title he has worn, something restless moves, the call of a home he has never known. He rides on. The forest swallows him whole. Sunlight filters through the leaves in broken shards, flashing across his face like memories trying to surface. Every sound becomes louder in the hush, the rustle of leaves, the creak of saddle, the faint ring of metal. The camera follows closely, catching the tension in his jaw, the questions in his eyes. He does not yet know why the land feels familiar, the narrator continues, why the wind carries voices he cannot name. But blood remembers, and even when the mind forgets. At a narrow stream, William dismounts. He crouches beside the water, letting it run through his fingers. The cold stings, grounding him. He watches the ripples spread outward, his reflection bending with them. For a heartbeat, another face ripples beside his own, older, scarred, eyes fierce and kind all at once. He blinks and it's gone. He laughs under his breath, half nervous, half defiant. "Ghosts," he mutters. This country breeds them. Yet when he looks around, the forest feels as if it is listening. The camera widens to show the highlands rising around him, vast and eternal. The wind picks up, carrying a distant echo, the faint call of bagpipes drifting from somewhere unseen. He stands, eyes narrowing. The melody is simple, ancient, full of longing. It draws him forward like a thread pulling at his soul, cut to Jamie at Fraser's Ridge. He stands outside the barn, mending a bridle, but his attention keeps wandering to the hills. The same wind touches him, and he pauses, sensing something. Claire steps out from the doorway, a shawl around her shoulders. "You feel it again?" she asks. Jamie nods slowly. "Aye, the air's changed." As if the world's holding its breath, the narrator interlaces their silence. Between them, miles of forest and decades of silence, yet the same wind carries their names. Back in the woods, William remounts and follows the sound. The terrain grows rougher. Branches whip against his coat, roots twist beneath his horse's hooves. The camera cuts between his determined face and flashes of memory. A child's laughter, a man's voice he cannot place, the warmth of a hearth that might have been his. Night begins to fall. He reaches a ridge where the land opens to a vast valley dotted with faint lights, the settlement at Fraser's Ridge. He stops, breath catching. The narrator whispers he does not know who waits beyond those lights, only that his heart beats faster the closer he comes. He sets up camp just inside the tree line. The firelight paints his features in gold and shadow. He takes out a small medallion from around his neck, the crest of the man he calls father, Lord John Grey. Turning it over, he notices a small mark on the edge he's never seen before, a faint engraving of a thistle. He traces it with his thumb, unaware that the same symbol is carved above Jamie's doorway miles away. The wind shifts again, carrying the scent of rain and smoke, and something else, something that feels like home. He looks toward the ridge, his decision forming. The narrator's voice softens. Every secret waits for the courage to be found. Tomorrow, his will meet him. The camera pulls back, rising above the campfire's glow until the forest becomes a sea of darkness. In the distance, another small flame flickers. Jamie's cabin. Two lights, far apart, burning under the same sky. The music builds quietly, low strings, heartbeat drums, then fades to a whisper. The morning breaks beneath a sky of restless clouds. The air feels charged, not with storm, but with fate. Birds lift from the trees all at once, a flutter of wings echoing like a warning. Down the narrow path that leads toward Fraser's Ridge, William rides again. His horse senses it too. The strange stillness, the hush before something sacred is revealed. The camera trails behind him, every frame thick with tension, every breath visible in the cold. The narrator begins softly. There are moments when the world stops pretending, when the truth, after hiding for years, finally steps into the light. As William approaches the ridge, smoke rises from chimneys ahead. He slows his pace, dismounting near the clearing. The cabin stands quietly, strong, weathered, alive with history. He can hear the faint sound of tools, the murmur of voices. His hand tightens on the reins. There's no reason for the tremor in his chest, but it's there, steady, unignorable. Inside, Jamie works at the table, fixing a rifle. Claire hums softly while tending to herbs by the window. The peace of the morning seems untouched, but something shifts when the wind pushes open the cabin door just enough to make it creak. Jamie looks up, eyes narrowing toward the light. His breath catches, not in fear but in instinct. Outside, William steps forward, boots crunching on gravel. The sound draws Claire's glance. She wipes her hands and peers out the window. Her face changes, confusion first, then disbelief. "Jamie," she whispers, her voice almost breaking. "You should come see this." Jamie moves slowly, but his heart is already ahead of him. He steps outside, the door closing softly behind him. For a long moment, neither man speaks. They simply look, and it's as though time folds. William stands tall, his uniform neat, his chin lifted in practiced pride. But his eyes, so blue they mirror Jamie's, flicker with something raw, something unguarded. He removes his hat, the gesture sharp and formal, yet beneath it trembles a silent storm. Jamie studies him, as if staring into a mirror that shows not the past or the future, but both. He doesn't need to ask. The truth has already found him. His jaw tightens, his breath deepens. The world seems to narrow until there's only the two of them. Two lives carved by different choices, bound by one undeniable thread. The narrator's voice lowers, "Blood does not lie." Even when separated by oceans, it finds its way home. William clears his throat, trying to speak, but the words fail him. Sir, he begins, and too polite, too distant. Jamie hears the word and almost flinches. Sir, the weight of all those lost years hides inside that single syllable. I'm told you're the man called Fraser, William continues, his tone brittle with restraint. You've known my father. Jamie's lips curve, not in amusement but in pain. Aye, he says quietly. I kent him well. A pause stretches, heavy and alive. The camera circles them slowly, catching the wind rustling through the trees, the faint sound of the river below, the way their eyes never fully look away. William takes a step closer. Then you know who I am, he says. It isn't a question, but a challenge. Jamie meets his gaze fully now. I do, he replies. I've kent it since before ye spoke. The silence after that feels sacred, like standing inside a church built by destiny itself. Claire steps out onto the porch, her expression tender but trembling. She can see it, the resemblance, the ache, the truth she once swore to keep. William looks between them, confusion warring with realization. His voice breaks as he asks, Why? Why didn't anyone tell me? Jamie's answer comes slowly, like a confession carved from stone. Because the world you were born into wouldn't have allowed ye to be mine. Because to save your life, lad, I had to lose ye. The words hit William harder than he expects. His composure falters just for a heartbeat. He blinks quickly, swallowing the surge of emotion. And now? He asks. Now that you stand before me, why, what am I supposed